Hi everyone, welcome to monthly project number 32. This is all about comic covers. This is one of those themes that you can have a lot of fun with. There's a really broad range of material out there and a good way to practice art. I've worked with Marvel for a long time now and I've done a bunch of comic covers myself. I did a lot of the Miles Morales Spider-Man covers and I've done various others over the years as well. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to make some project briefs on comic covers. Option 1 was recreate an existing comic cover. Option 2, create your own original comic cover. And option 3 had me lay out some ideas for you. Number 1, Spider-Man holds a defeated Gwen. She's clinging to life as Doc Ock and Miles Morales fight in the background. Number 2, Evil Spider-Man, based off my recent concept art. Electro and Rhino are trying to fight off an evil Peter Parker. And number 3, Poison Ivy has Batman in her grasp, giant vines holding him up, and the Batmobile is getting crushed in the background. I thought it'd be good to lay these out, because sometimes it's great as an artist to have a bit of direction. So let's have a look and see what all the artists have come up with. Each month I pick 3 submissions to critique. So congrats to Brett, Abby and Paul. I'm going to dive into these critiques and give you some feedback toward the end of the video. Let's check out some submissions. First up is Paul Cameron. This is amazing. Based off my number 3 brief, Spider-Man holding a defeated Gwen, this is really cool. I absolutely love the detail in this. Amazing. And you can really feel it. It's got the story there. Top-notch work. Absolutely awesome, Paul. Next up is Cyril, and you've chosen the brief number 3. Poison Ivy is holding Batman up as the Batmobile is being crushed. And this artwork is absolutely beautiful. It's really well drawn. This is just absolutely amazing. I especially love the title and how that's glowing. It just ties in really well with the whole cover. Very professional work there, Cyril. Next up is Deegan, and you have been busy. Have a look at all these covers you've done recently. I really love these. I can't get enough of them. Your work is mind-blowing. You mentioned you have a colorist that does all your colors. So shout out to James O'Freedy. And Deegan, your line work is just superb. I really love how bold it is, and that it just stands out so well. These covers are amazing. Good work. I can't decide which one I like the best. Probably Wolverine. Deadpool's coming really close. I love it. Next up is Renee, and you've done a Spider-Man cover here, and it's a homage to the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man cover over there. Have a look at those webs, the amount of detail you've put into them, the effort that you've done there. That is just phenomenal. The Spider-Man looks great himself. Well done on that one. And next up is Sai, and you've been really busy as well. You've actually done 7 covers, 7 submissions from you. Looks like you've had a lot of fun with these. I really love them all. You've done some with the briefs that I gave out. You've chosen a few Marvel characters to do as well. Doctor Doom and Moon Knight, they're amazing. The Silver Surfer and Luke Cage one, they are homages for classic covers. They came out really well as well. And I especially love what you did here. You took the brief that I gave out of Spider-Man holding Gwen. This is probably one of my favorite works of yours. I really love this. Phenomenal work there, Sai. I think that's just top notch. And next up is Leto Arts. And you did a comic cover based off the latest Shazam movie. I think this came out really great. I love it. It's a very powerful cover and it looks like legit. It looks like a real cover. Well done on that. And we've got a bunch more. I'm going to let them play out. Absolutely amazing submissions from everybody here. Enjoy these and we'll get into the critiques very soon. Okay, it's time to dive into the critiques now. And we're going to start off with Brett. I love this piece. I think you've got some great energy. That's one of the best things about your art, is that you always know how to really add in a lot of energy and make it really dynamic. I love the way he's thwipping through here. And it's like an energy kind of web. So this is the evil Peter Parker based off my concept. And he's fighting Rhino and Electro. I love this. And it looks like you've said he's got laser webs. He had poison webbing before. Wow, that's crazy. I like the spin on the eye there. Kind of looks like Scorpion. Now, for the critique, I've actually gone over, I forgot to press record, but I actually have started to do outlines over your rhino. And it's really all I think your artwork needs is just to be clearer. So the line work, I would love to see it nice and crisp. So I'm just doing an example, just going over, just to show you, what it could be like. And I'm literally copying your exact line work. A really good tip when trying to have your line work, have some nice flow, is to really taper some parts out. I like to go really thick and then taper it out into super thin. So you can kind of see how I've done it up around this kind of palm there. So if I continue to do that, so really thin wherever there's going to be light, and then when I get to the darkness, I can go really thick and bold underneath that thumb where it's going to get quite dark under there. So really bold in some areas like that. I'll erase that part up to thin, really thin, and then super bold. And I think that's a really nice way to get that line work looking nice. Alright, Brett, I've just finished doing the outlines here. See how in the legs here, like really thin there where the light might hit, and then thick, really thick, I think it'll flow with your kind of really cartoony, exaggerated style, to really mess around with those outlines and add a lot of balance and just craziness in the lines. I think that'll work really well with your style. So I was trying to adapt to your style a little bit more there when I do the lines. But I would really love to see your lines just be cleaned up. I just thought it was a little too rough overall. You see, the drawing is great. The drawing's all there. The energy is awesome. I just really would love to see everything cleaned up, like around the hands, things like that. See how it's kind of got that sketchy style. I think the pen or the digital brush that you're using doesn't seem to have the flow or the pressure sensitivity in there. So I'm not sure if that's an issue on your end, whether it's a tablet that you own that doesn't have that capability or anything like that. But I would really love to see that work for you in the end. Because honestly, if you just had that line work crisp, honestly, you'd be able to go really far. Your work would look way more professional. Because like I said, you've got the energy, you've got the drawing down. I didn't change any anatomy in Rhino or Spider-Man there. All I had to do was clean up them lines and you're good to go. So I hope that helps, Brett. I really love your work. Keep it up. And thanks so much. Alright, next is Abby. And you've done SpiderGwen here. And this is a homage to the Superior Spider-Man cover over here. Really cool cover. I reckon that'd be really fun to play with. And you've done a great job of this setup. I think the first thing that this piece really needs is another level of shading added to the piece. And especially under Gwen herself, I'd really love to see a shadow being casted from her. And then a few more like darker shadows, more contrast in the shadows on her, especially under the hood. And the rest, I'm just going to do a bit of tidying up. So this is what I've come up with. I'll just do a quick comparison. So before I started that and now. And just by adding that extra level, I feel like it's bringing it to life a little bit more. I think that's all that you need, is just to add one more level of cell shading to your artwork to really help your artwork pop, because you've got a vibrance to your work, and I really like your lines as well, and the way you colorize your lines is great. I feel like we should maybe try and add one more level of cell shading. I think that'll really up your style. And the other thing that I wouldn't mind seeing is probably just maybe some gradients added to your artwork. Now what I mean is using a soft brush. You see how it's more of a soft fade? That kind of brush is what I mean. And we'll do I just want to see what it looks like if I play around with this a little bit. There we go. So I've just added a soft gradient over some areas where I think the shadow is going to be casted mostly. So this arm being tucked back and under, I really put that in shadow. You can kind of see there. And you don't have to stop there. So it's not just for characters. I would love to see it in the background. You see that? Do a nice fade over in the foreground here, sorry. And if I go even darker, and brush around. I feel like that's, pretty cool. And then all I would do is get the eraser and start to erase parts that you want to keep in that aren't in shadow. So I'm doing the webs here, having a look at those, trying to bring some of those back into the light so that they stand out more, because you spend a lot of time on those webs there. Yeah, I think that works nicely. Now, I probably would take the opacity down to about, I'm doing it 70%. And yeah, I feel like we still get that artwork to pop now. And another idea, if you didn't want to do the soft fade with the soft brush, try and do it, something with a spotted brush like this, just for a style choice. When I brush through, the dots are huge, and I don't like that, so it doesn't really work, they're too big. So what you can do to fix that is, I'm going to image size this up. So I usually take the resolution up to like 800, just for this one shading purpose. And then when I shade over, the dots are much smaller and, to a size that I really like. Now this is a style that I used when I did all the Into the Spider-Verse artwork, and I actually did Gwen as well. And this was a shading technique that I learnt when I had to try and adapt to that crazy style. They've got this really artistic style in the movie. And for the merchandise artwork, I had to really try and adapt to this. And I learned a few tricks along the way. So this was one of those. And I highly recommend it. It's a really good shading technique. So this brush is amazing, by the way. So the harder I press, the bigger the dots, and the lighter I press, the thinner the dots. And you can see that I've got full control over this, and I really like the way that this works, especially when you want to go full solid. You see that? So I pressed super hard, and it goes to a pure, I can go full solid, and then the lighter I press out, it'll go like that. And I really like that. So you see the way that works, just that option. And then obviously when I'm done, I'll have to take the image size back down to 300 or whatever I had it at. But yeah, that's another option for shading, just that I would share. So you can see the difference between the soft shading and the Spider-Verse shading. And yeah, I actually kind of like the Spider-Verse shading more. It's just got more style to it. So there we go. That's what I recommend. I'm much happier with that color balance overall. Here's the original, and here is now. And you can see I really just think it needs that extra level of shading. So one more level of cell shading, and then maybe some color balance. And it's some kind of gradient or fade around. Helps make these webs stand out a little bit more as well. And that shading technique was fun as well. So just an option. All right. Thanks, Abby. I hope that helps. I love your work, and keep it up. All right, next up is Paul, and you've done a cover based on my number 3 description, where Batman is tied up by poison ivy with the vines, and you can see the crushed Batmobile in the back there. This is really cool. I love your artwork. You've got such a good style. Everything's looking great. I love those lines. That's awesome. And you've also done a second cover, which is just awesome. I love this. And this is based off my my description as well. I think it was number 1, where Peter Parker's holding Gwen and Doc Ock is battling Miles in the background here. You've done an absolutely top job of that one. I love it. So today I'm going to critique this one here. Now, for the critique, I think there's just a bit too much empty space going on down here. So overall, I would say just composition-wise, I think we could improve that a fair bit. Another thing I want to point out is you've got the center focus, which is this area here. But the problem is I feel like it's just off-center. This is just me being fussy, but composition-wise, if you're going to have a setup like this, you'd want their faces to be dead center, that's about the center of the piece about there. So it's just off-center. That's just something I thought I'd mention. I'll show you a few variations of the cover that can probably improve. One option could be maybe we get these two, size them right up, quite large, right in the middle there, and then you get the car that is destroyed and have that, probably about maybe there. And I think that makes a pretty interesting piece already. And maybe in the back, if we just added some kind of color to it, like I feel like we really needed a little bit more ambience around. So I'm going to mix it up with some greens and some purples, something like this, just to make it a little more interesting. So the shadows could probably be like really purple, and maybe to help separate her green suit from the background, we can add some purple behind her. And maybe some hints of yellow in the background, just like really try and mix up those colors a bit more, I think. And then I'm just going to play around with the color balance on Batman and Poison Ivy themselves, just to try and make them a little bit more ambient, or just to fit with the scene a little more. There we go. So there's something like that. That's just an option. Really making use of that space down below now. We've got the wrecked Batmobile and some colors. I'll just show you a quick comparison before I started. So I feel like the Batmobile just felt a little small, like for the distance where it is, didn't really line up. Felt like it should just be, yeah, quite large. So, but we'll try another option as well, because I really like how you've got all these vines and such. So what we'll do, I'm just going to realign these characters so that their faces, that center point is right in the middle there. So something more like that maybe. But we'll size this Batmobile up and really make use of that space there. Just going to steal some elements from my Poison Ivy piece. Maybe some of this wood, or maybe the flower. I might even steal maybe this vine up here. I think could work really well. Maybe down this corner. Okay, here we go. So I've brought my vines in. I just want to try and add more to the piece, you know what I mean? And I'm just adding in some flowers as well. I'm going to try and brighten this up a little bit. Bit of smoke down the bottom maybe, like spores maybe. And this will help balance out colors. There we go. So after playing around with some colors, trying to mess around with the vibrance, I've come up with something like this, and I think I might just do a bit of a soft, well, not that much, but I want to do like a soft kind of glow behind them. Really make use of that yellow kind of bright light there, and I think that can help. That'll really help lighten up these two and make them pop. Yeah, something like that. You see, just adding that glow has helped heaps. So here's the two versions. So the first one was, you know, really close up. And yeah, I think I like this one a lot more though. When you've got their full bodies, you can really see what's happening. This one, I do like it because it's more intimate, more closed in on them too and their face. And it's like she's about to kiss him. But yeah, this one I probably like more with the elements. Things like these big vines in the foreground adds dimension, you know, and distance. And that Batmobile's now really large. And yeah, all these other elements, like, yeah, really make the jungle feel alive. Kind of adds more threat, you know what I mean? So here's the original, and then here's with the changes. One thing that I've learned through the years when doing comic covers is they've always wanted them to be, you know, to pop. You want people to be able to see your cover from a long way, a long distance away. So if I zoom out, you know, it's kind of not catching enough. Whereas, you know, you want to have something like that where it's a little more vibrant, it's popping, you've got this big light behind them to lift the characters off and make them feel like, makes the scene more interesting in a way. So yeah, I hope that helps, Paul. I love your work. I think you've done an awesome job on this. Really good drawing. The anatomy, everything's spot on. I've got nothing to change there. Your line works perfect. I love it. It all just comes down to composition and vibrance, I think. Well done. Thanks, Paul. Alright, that is it for this monthly project. I hope you enjoyed that one. That was a really fun theme. So many great covers there. You guys did an amazing job. Looks like you all had a lot of fun with it. I think we'll definitely do this theme again sometime. And if you're new to what I do here, feel free to join my Patreon and be a part of these monthly projects. You can head over to patreon.com/PatrickBrown. You can get access to tutorials, art files, and heaps more. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.